Hey everyone, thanks for being able to join. This is our second ECE EE State of the Department. We had one last year and we had a positive reaction from our alumni. So we wanted to host another one this year in 2021. Again, it's virtual given, we're all living in the COVID era. And so I have Dr. El Gamal here who's going to be providing an overview of what's the department been up to, what are some of the advances, et cetera. And I'll just be providing a quick introduction of our Alumni Society, which is hosting this. First question people ask is, okay, Alumni Society, what do you guys do? Our main purpose is, connecting alumni as well as students together to really pay it forward. This includes STEM outreach work that we've been doing recently, class reunions, community events, we sponsor scholarships. And the way people can get involved and the way we make all of this happen is through people such as yourselves who are here today. So on the right-hand side, you'll see a QR code. Feel free to pull out your phone, open the camera app, tap on it, and sign up for our mailing list. It's a great way to hear more about these kind of events. And if you're really enjoying, you can get involved in some of our committees. We have two main committees. One is the membership committee. So really focusing in on, hey, how can we get more alumni to participate? And then in my opinion, the more fun one, meetings and programs, which is planning virtual events, hopefully in-person events in the future, and going through all of that stuff. So with that, I'll pass it off to Dr. El Gamal, who will be providing an overview of the state of the ECE department.
Thank you, Zia, and thank you everyone for your time today, the engagement. This is a great tradition. I hope we continue in this. The engagement and the support the department and Ohio State gets from our alum is a key factor in our success. So before I go in my presentation, I guess the fundamental question is, how did we do during this challenging time? So it's no secret that this has been a very challenging year in higher ed, a little bit more than the rest of society. We had to learn and get acquainted with the way to do higher ed and online. We had our challenges on campus. We had budget situations. So as we're coming out from it, because our plan now at Ohio State is to have a significant in-person component of our learning in the next fall, it's time for us to say, if we're evaluating the department during this time, I cannot be more proud of our faculty, staff, and students. We didn't slow by one beat. Everything went even a little bit better than we expected. The department have shown that we are resilient. We learned a lot of things over the last few years that actually improved our strategic thinking and the way we move in the future. So this has been a great success. We're coming out from it strong. We are in a great position to invest in the future. As many of you know, we have a new president, President Johnson. We have a new dean, Dean Howard, and both of them are ECE faculty. And I fully expect ECE to be a catalyst in the vision they have for the college and the university. And we already have a lot of discussion about exciting and cool things for the department and the college moving forward. So what I'm hoping to do today is to take a step back to 2 years ago, when we actually had our external academic review for the department, because this was a very important moment, in my opinion, for the department. This academic review happens every 10 years. So in 2019, we had a group of outstanding world-class faculty from Georgia Tech, UC Irvine, and Minnesota who came, visited us, interacted with the department in various ways, and provided a report on their assessment of where we are as a department. And the key takeaway from that was very much aligned with our internal thinking at the moment, which is we are a very solid department. We are very traditional, and we are ready to take the next step forward. And this next step forward, the way we were seeing it at the time, is not just incremental, it's a leap forward to the future. So this was what they provided. It was very much aligned with our thinking internally, that we have strength, very traditional strengths, like when you think of ESL, for example, or the devices area. And we're very proud of that. But that's a time where we look at the strength and see how do we actually take that forward in a transformative way. So what we did after that is that we engaged in many discussions. We had a number of retreats, in-person retreats before the pandemic, and we actually have one virtual after the pandemic. And our collective goal was, if we want to do this leap forward, we have to first understand who we are. We have to really figure out what we care about, where our strengths are, where are areas we can improve on, and build a vision that guides us taking this forward. So this vision has to come from who we are. So the next slide, what Zia have here is, I was trying, as we're going through this discussion, to kind of distill the keywords. What do we care about? So the keywords that kept coming to me in our collective discussions and in my lunches with the faculty was, we really care about quality and impact. So you may have different views from faculty on how to define quality and impact. Some of us may be more engaged a little bit in the teaching and learning. Some of it are in the research, but the quality of our work is something that we care a lot about, and we want to have positive impact on our society, on our students. Diversity and inclusion came out as something that pops up in every discussion we have. There is a collective understanding that this is a challenge and an opportunity for our discipline, not just for our department. So it kept coming up. Students and alumni. A student-centric culture is something that really defines our department. Maybe it was not all the time well articulated, but there is a lot of passion about it. And something we're really very proud of in our department is the collegiality. I mean, people like each other. I consider all of them my friends, and I hope they consider the same toward me. But that's a very powerful thing that we can build on. But of course, as with any place in the world, any community, there is always a need to improve. So the things that was popping in terms of improvement was identity. How do we differentiate ourselves from the world? Like, when you remember, like I always gave this example in my discussions, internal discussion, when I remember when Stanford ECE comes to my mind, the word entrepreneurship always come to my mind. When Illinois Urbana-Champaign comes to mind, a lot of rigorous theory is associated with it. So what's Ohio State ECE? This was a question that we were thinking about. Recruitment. I think we still need to do a much better job with recruitment. So the way the whole structure of Ohio State and the college actually is not necessarily the best for the department to go out and recruit. I expect that to improve as we move forward. But this was not something that we are intentional about. So there was always a feel in our discipline that students will apply and we'll filter the application. So there was a moment where we started thinking we need to recruit, we need to pay attention, especially when you tie that with notions like diversity and inclusion. So if we want to improve the culture, make it more diverse, we have to be intentional and go and recruit students from different backgrounds. The community is something that, while we're proud of being collegial, we felt we need to strengthen those ties between us more and more. And excellence. Quantity is important, but quality is measured by excellence. And we need to have a laser focus on enabling everybody to excel in what they are doing, whether they are faculty and staff and students. So those keywords kept coming up, and we were doing this. And maybe a year in the discussion, we started to articulate the vision that will guide us moving forward, as Zia have in the next slide. So the diversity and inclusion and the community feeling was captured in our insistence to be an exemplar of wellness. So collectively, we believe that excellence doesn't come from a place of stress. Excellence comes from a place of wellness. Creativity comes when we are all actually are kind of enjoying what we're doing in a productive way. So we want our department to be recognized in the nation. When people think of ECE Ohio State, think about wellness as a platform for excellence. That's what we feel would differentiate us from the rest in everything we do, in our policies. So as you will see, we are revamping our policies, pattern of administration. We're thinking about PNT, promotion and tenure. We're thinking about the qualifier exam for PhD students. And we are taking a look at all of this from the perspective of how to ensure that our culture is committed to wellness and enabling creative excellence from that. A student-centric approach is vital to all of this, because whatever we do has to be centered around the students. So this is the vision that we came up with. I think it was more than a year ago. And out of this vision, because a vision is as good as what action items we take out from it. So we identified fundamental thrusts for a holistic restructuring of the way we approach education and research in our department. And over the last year now, we've been making significant progress in every and each one of them. And that progress is already reflected in the performance and the results we're seeing on the ground. So the first one of them was, how do we structure our educational mission? So as Zia will see in this next slide, we came up with this notion of a community of grand challenges. And now Professor Kevin Passino is pioneering our first community, which focused on the notion of a just society. So what do we mean by that? A traditional department like us is typically organized in curricular areas. So as we all know, when we were undergrad, we have a curricular area in electromagnetic, we have a curricular area in devices, we have a curricular area in circuits, maybe communication and control. In fact, our department has 6 curricular areas. So you can think of this as horizontals. They are largely defined around the fundamentals that we want the students to understand before they graduate. But this single dimensional approach to teaching and learning lacks few fundamental things. First, as students are typically inspired by applications or impact they want to pursue on life, those things do not necessarily pop out from the curricular area. So that's a challenge ECE faces actually nationally. Like how do people see ECE? When you talk about circuits, something really difficult and requires a lot of work and stuff like that. But people don't, when they look at circuits, they don't think circuits is going to cure cancer. People think of BME as curing cancer, while I would argue that ECE engineers are doing a lot to cure cancer, actually, but it's not articulated in a way that's embedded in our education. So we thought we need actually a more of a 2-dimensional vision to the education. So there is the curricular areas, but cutting across them would be what we call grand challenge community. So sustainability is a challenge that's facing our society, and it cuts across all those areas. So while you're studying devices or electromagnetics, you can have a focus on studying that with the idea of contributing to sustainability. Just society. How do you develop technology that allow the society to move more toward a notion of justice? And Kevin actually is taking that notion right now and building a community around it. He's introducing a curricular domain. If I recall correctly, it's called Health and Humanity. And he's actually introducing the first anti-racist class in the nation, I believe, and it will be offered in fall 2021. The idea from having it a community, not just courses, is I am a big believer, and I believe this is shared by many of us in our department, that a lot of learning happens outside the classroom. We want to increase the interaction between our faculty and students. So as Kevin actually is designing his course right now, he's doing that with the help of 4 students supported by the department, because we want this to be an inclusive experience for everybody. We want to make the Hack Ohio and Make Ohio integral part of this. I'm working with few faculty of changing the way teaching load is designed in departments, so we free up time from the faculty to mentor those students as they walk through this. So we're envisioning this as a family of students cutting across all the years, like a vertically integrated experience, whereas they go through those classes, they have a purpose for that. In my experience, learning when we have a purpose is actually much more impactful than abstract learning. So the next one that Professor Steve Vivek is planning is to focus on trust and cybersecurity. The other thing that we all care about in our department and we're pushing forward to is the next slide is excellence in research and education. So here we want to introduce the notion of productivity doesn't necessarily capture what we want to do. Creativity captures it more. So we want to view ourselves as community of scholars. We want the faculty and the students and the staff to understand that while quantity may look good, it's the quality of our work. So we are in the process of trying to revamp our master's degree along those lines, We are creating what's going to be called the research fellow for our students. So they are funded by the department and they can visit other places to get exposure and focus on their work. We are reducing actually the teaching load, or at least for next year, as I will mention later, we are investing in reducing the teaching load for our faculty a little bit so they can focus more on their quality. And the results are already here. Last year, our department our students have won 3 presidential fellows out of 15 offered by all of Ohio State, if I remember correctly the numbers, which is quite remarkable. And that's a testament to the quality that our faculty and students are aspiring to. The next one. An entrepreneurial culture. It ties well from creativity. So part of being traditional, I think as a department, and it's something we improve on, we're kind of shy of taking risks. So when you look at us, compare us, for example, to other places without naming names, like MIT or Stanford, for example, you see that we don't necessarily have the structure to take the same amount of risk. So when we are interested in inviting our faculty and students to take risk, it has to be a culture that promotes that. There has to be also resources that does this. So one of the things we're doing in this part, and it's part of the funds we're creating, we are going to support our faculty who want to start companies by 1 semester off if they have a proposal that gets approved by our advisory committee. So we want our faculty to be able to move into a direction where failure is not that scary and where they can be ambitious with the stuff they try. So we have a number of faculty now who are buying into this. So over the last few years, I've been serving as a chair. Professor Sanjay Krishna has a company, Walid Khalil has a company, Emre Koksal is starting one, Emre Ertin is starting one. So it's gaining momentum. What we know collectively is many of those companies may not be successful commercially, but they are always successful culturally. Because when the faculty engage in those experiences, the learning that they get that maps into a better and more enriching education environment for our students is priceless. The culture they would get from this experience will map into choices of research problems, attitude toward solving problems that's actually dramatically different than before that. So it's always a good investment, while in some time it doesn't show us finances, but it always shows us culture. And that's why we're investing in it. So as we move forward, and I'll talk about the funds we're creating, we're trying to get our faculty to lead this, and Professor Sanjay Krishna will play a pivotal role here. Next one. Restructuring policies and procedures. So cultures do not start by policies and procedure, but cultures get protected by policies and procedures. So if we are serious about everything we're doing, this has to be mapped into the policies and the procedures for our department. So our APT, the appointment, promotion, and tenure. Again, being traditional, what's the definition of a scholarship? When you read our P&T document, you will find it extremely rigorous, extremely solid, but very traditional. So maybe we need to expand our scholarship definition a little bit, but that requires all of us to agree on it. So we have went through, I think in the last 3 years, we have a record number of cases that went through promotion and tenure. We're learning from it, and we're adapting that into our document. Internal versus external talents. Again, part of building the community. Typically, promotion and tenure in the academic environment is heavily weighted toward the visibility of our contribution to the outside world. But we have among ourselves many faculty, staff, and students who are doing great contributions to the community, recognized by the community, but that's not necessarily reflected in our policies and procedures. So unless this is reflected, unless this is promoted, we cannot expect those people to continue to contribute internally in the way we need them. So that's part of the discussion that's going right now. The teaching load, the workload assignment policy has to map to the priorities that we are advocating. So this is something the department already has resources next year to improve on. And it's part of my discussion with Dean Howard about the sustainable budget model to allow us to move in this direction. Zia, thank you. Next one. Leveraging virtual technology. So as I was mentioning, the challenge was a learning experience for all of us. And there is silver lining because we learned collectively a lot about how to use tools to enhance our education experience for the students moving forward. So one of the concrete example of this, we have already 2 new cyber certificates got approved. They are online certificate, will be launched this summer. We have a proposal now with the grad school pending for a master degree on cybersecurity that's built on those certificates. I'm pushing really hard for this to be launched in September. And I would, in my opinion, this would have been impossible without having the pandemic and getting the momentum inside Ohio State to move in this direction. Credit to our faculty, especially Professor Elim Ekiji, in pushing this at record speed. Typically, a new degree takes 4 years. This one is happening in less than a year. So that's just one example. What we're trying to do right now is take this as a pilot and build a program of graduate certificates in different areas. Some of them could be just packaging of courses that we are doing right now, but with the right curricular structure, they are actually going to address an education gap in the workforce. So Professor Walid Khalil, for example, recommended one in communication and radar that goes to the needs of government employees, especially in research labs. So by just piloting this and learning from what we have, we will be able to move in very creative direction, leveraging the talent and the expertise we have in the department and tying it with a new tool. So virtual technologies is just a tool. It's not going to change the way we approach education. It just is a tool that allows us to enhance the way we deliver education. So going to the next one, new curricular degrees. That's ties from the virtual technology. So the master degree that we're doing is not going to be a Master of Science. It's a professional master's, and it's designed for the workforce that's not full-time, that's not interested necessarily in a PhD, that they want to fill a gap in their skills that allow them to excel in the workforce. So as we are moving, that's very atypical. Like our Master of Science program that we have right now is not designed this way. It serves a need, and it's actually an excellent and thriving program, but it doesn't serve all the needs. So as we see the expansion of audience, if you will, that we can get with virtual technology, we're going to move into those directions one step at a time. It helps from multiple angles. It fulfills our mission of educating the workforce. It actually creates revenue stream that allow us to invest in other things that may not be as rewarding from a revenue perspective. And the cybersecurity degrees that we have right now is the prime example. In fact, this cybersecurity degrees I'm really happy about because it's a collaboration between multiple departments. Because the way I see the future for our department is to be a catalyst working with other departments in those domains that the workforce needs. Thank you, Zia. So numbers, I am not a big fan of numbers, but we did improve our numbers over the last 2 years in multiple fronts. So our ranking went up from 30 to 22. The number of GRAs supported by our faculty went from 244 to 275. The graduation rate improved a little bit. What I'm really happy about is this balanced approach that we have. So research is improving and teaching is improving. Service is improving. Taking risk is improving. I believe that no one of those areas needs to improve at the expense of others. So by maintaining this focus on all aspects of our mission, that's how we thrive. So the numbers are looking good, but I'm not obsessed with them. If we're doing the right things, the numbers will follow. Some of them, I don't know what will be the ranking next year. Could fall down a little bit, could go up a little bit. What I know is if we continue our commitment to our vision, the ranking will improve consistently with time. 5 years from now, it will be in the right place. 10 years from now, it will be better. So the commitment of doing the right thing, numbers will follow. So it's good to celebrate them when they happen. It's good to keep an eye on them because they can tell us about deficiencies that we are not really looking at the moment. But the most important thing is to continue to be committed to our mission and vision that we believe in collectively. The most important assets that we have that shine through during the pandemic and continue to empower this department is the amazing people that I get to work with every day. I mean, 137 is the number of email addresses that we have in all our mailing list, which I send to everybody, so all our faculty and staff. And I could not be more grateful for everything they do every day on this campus. The transition we did during the pandemic happened extremely smoothly from a department chair perspective, because they are all committed to what they do and they continue to thrive. So where we are right now, coming out from this, we actually are in a very good shape financially as a department, which will allow us to do the last thing, the last slide, is to create, again, we have a vision, we have thrust, the resources have to come. So we're creating 4 funds in the department. Each one of them is going to focus on one area of excellence. And the department will start those funds with some seed capital. One of them is going to be focused on teaching and learning. One is going to be focused on research. One is going to be focused on entrepreneurship, and one is going to be focused on service. And we already have money allocated to each one of them, and we have a faculty who's going to lead one of them. So Professor Betelise Anderson is going to lead the teaching and learning. Andrea Serrani is going to lead research. Sanjay Krishna is going to lead entrepreneurship, and Lee Potter is going to lead service. And their responsibility will be to use this seed capital to raise more funds from our alums, from the college, from the university. It's much different to go and ask for funds when you have a matching fund than you start from scratch. So that's what the department is offering to them. But they will also be responsible of deploying those funds. So we made some initial decisions on the first year. For example, in the teaching and learning, we are going to support our clinical faculty for 2 weeks of summer salary for 2 years to capture the learning they have over the last pandemic and use it to revamp their courses and to revamp our offering. In the research, we are going to sponsor research fellows next year, students who can go and visit other institutions and spend time to capture the culture and bring it back. In entrepreneurship, Sanjay has a seed fund of 50K that he's going to go out and try to match it and use that in whatever ideas that department comes up with. In the service, we are going to allocate 50K to Professor Lee Potter for his diversity and equity and inclusion effort. I know it's not a lot of money, but it's a start. And it shows that we're serious, and it allows those faculty to go out and build on this and deploy it in something that we care about. So as always, your engagement, I tried not to take much time because I blabber a lot. The idea is to engage you as much as possible and have a conversation now. So unless they have something that I missed, I'd like to open it up for questions and conversation.
No, I think that was it. Thank you for being able to present that departmental overview. If people want to ask questions in the chat, maybe we can start there, or if they want to come off mute, hopefully whatever people think is the best, but I think maybe we can start with questions in the chat and then we can call on people just so it's easier, such that not everyone goes off of mute at once. So,
you know, when I don't get questions when I teach, it means no one really understood anything of what I was saying. That's the line I use all the time.
I'll ask a question, Hisham.
Go ahead, Ward.
On the certificates, can you explain a little bit more about how you're building out that program and choosing the certificates and prioritizing the curricula around those certificates?
Right. So the idea, those certificates came as building blocks in the plan for the master program, actually. So let me start with this. So we wanted this master program. We knew that cybersecurity is a very wide area and people can approach it from different angles. So we were challenged of how to create a program that addresses all of this. So the structure we came up with was there need to be a foundation, one class in the beginning, which actually the decision is to focus on ethics and best practices. And we need at the end a wrap up that needs to be hands-on, like a capstone. So that's 3 credit hours, 3 credit hours. What we have now is 24 credit hours. So the idea from the certificate is you can think of them as the pillars that connect the foundation with the ramp. And students get to pick 2 certificates. Each one of them is 12 credit hours, focused on one topic related to the skills they need in the industry. So the 2 certificates, for example, we got approved right now is one is focusing on what we call design and implementation. So if you're going to work in designing and implementing cyber system, and another one that's called offense and defense. So you're going to work in the blue team, red team kind of situation. So we have another one coming out in the analytics. We have another one coming out in policy. And the approach we're spinning them up is a match between what we hear from the stakeholders and the intellectual capacity of Ohio State. So the design and implementation came based on the competence we have in ECE. The offense and defense came more based on the competence we have in computer science. The analytics is coming based on the competence we have in industrial system engineering. And we actually, for the first time in Ohio State, some of those courses will be taught by Battelle, because we want this master program and those certificates to be grounded on the skills the students need in the workforce. So there is the foundation approach that comes from our faculty with a little bit of the hands-on that coming from industry to maintain this balance as we move forward. So that's how it's designed right now. And the new thing that Ohio State is doing now is this stackable architecture. So Ohio State did not have that kind of stuff before. So the students will be able, in a year from now, hopefully, when we move through all of this, to enroll in a certificate, finish it. It's a 12 credit hour. One of the big barriers, sorry for the confusion. One of the big barriers, in my opinion, toward master education was this all or nothing kind of thing. So you decide you want a little bit of skills and you go and look at the portfolio that the university offered and you find I can get masters in cybersecurity. It's a 2-year situation, a lot of work. I have a lot of obligation work. It becomes a very big barrier. So what the idea from a certificate, every certificate is 12 credit hours. So you can come and say, maybe I enroll in that certificate, finish it in a semester or 2. Now you have something, you have a milestone, an achievement. You can decide to build on it and take the second certificate and finish the master, or you can decide to pause and do something else with your life and then get back. So it becomes this modular architecture that reduces the barrier to entry and make the milestones meaningful for the students. They finish something, they have a package of a skill that they can apply in the workforce, and then they move to the second. So that's how we came up with the idea, and that's the concept we're deploying right now. But as I mentioned, one of the most important things that we will be always insisting on is to maintain the connection and feedback to industry, to learn as we move and adapt. If there are mistakes, fix them.
Thank you.
All right.
We do have some backup questions, but if anyone has them, feel free to drop them in the chat. Question for you, Dr. El-Gamal. What would you say is the biggest challenge that the department is facing at the moment?
I think it's a challenge and opportunity. So as we come out from this COVID, it would be a huge mistake if we go back to what we were before. Because there is a lot of learning that actually happened in the last year and a half. And thriving in the future will mean that we learn from this and incorporate those lessons in the way we move forward. The second challenge, it's not only for the department, it's a national thing that seems to be overlooking, is recruitment. I think ECE has, for many, many years, took for granted the talent that come our way. And we assume that the students will always be interested and they are coming at the undergrad and the grad level. This is not happening anymore, actually. We have to compete, we have to convince, we have to package our knowledge in a way that's attractive to the talent out there, because I am seriously concerned about this, especially at the graduate level. The number of applicants, PhD programs nationally is dropping down quickly. And I don't think we're paying a lot of attention to that. And I think that's something the department is aware of, and we have to reinvent ourselves from that. It doesn't mean we have to necessarily completely transform our education, our research. Sometimes it's more branding. Sometimes it's understanding the language the students are speaking with. Sometimes it's looking for better ways to highlight our impact. But recruiting talent into our discipline is a big challenge for electrical and computer engineering and for engineering in general.
So to that point, Hashem, I mean, we have a perfect example with Dr. Johnson and Dr. Howard now in key positions. So are there any plans to leverage those esteemed roles being electrical engineering graduates to help foster that recruitment?
Definitely. So I know Ayana is very passionate about this. So that requires rethinking of the way recruitment is happening at the college. So I know she started. I mean, Ayana just started this month, so there's a lot of onboarding that's going on right now. But my discussions with her makes me very optimistic about this, and she definitely understands our discipline. So this language is or those challenges are clear to her, and I think that will be. I think working with her will take us in the right direction here. But just for me now, just highlighting this because this is something that I think nationally we're not really paying attention to.
We have a question in the chat. I can read it out loud, unless Austin, you want to go on mute, whatever you prefer.
I guess I can talk. I wasn't sure. Yeah, I was interested in what you said about kind of like categorizing courses in terms of more like real world applications, like you said, sustainability. And I was just wondering if there was a vision in terms of how that would be presented to the students. Because typically that things are kind of broken up, like you have to take a certain number of courses in this subdomain. So I didn't know if they were planning to kind of restructure that entirely or just kind of piloting things. So I was hoping you could speak more on that.
So what's happening right now is we're using something that's called the domain in our curriculum. So that's what Kevin is using in the Technology for Just Society. So a domain is a vertic on the curriculum that doesn't change that you have to do power and stuff, but it allows you to focus on some areas. And he's calling it health and humanity, I think. So we're going to introduce more of those. You are absolutely right. And it's not only just categorizing content in a different way. It's embedding those applications in the courses themselves. So Carol has already taken a very nice step where we are now trying to invite speakers to come to the classroom. Because when we talk to students a lot, my impression about the students is that they are busy. And if we organize, we need to go to them in the classroom and change things a little bit. So inviting speakers and alums to come and speak to them about the application, embedding that in the course itself is something I think the department will be trying hard on in the next few years. But the domain is our first step, embedding this into the courses and seeing how the first two society or community we start will thrive is going to guide us on how we do that moving forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another question. A lot of us in industry sometimes wonder, hey, what are some ways that our companies can really get involved in helping out the ECE department? I know you mentioned that there's a lot of entrepreneurial efforts with professors and research and starting their own companies, but how can people in existing companies kind of get involved?
That's the idea I have from having those 4 funds. Is every one of them, the faculty responsible for will come up with those ideas and reach out. So one of the things that I'm hoping will change is corporate fundraising was more centralized at the college, and I feel it should go to the department. And it doesn't have to be money. It could be help with lab. It could be help with expertise. It could be help with changing things. So by creating those funds and those focus, I'm expecting a lot of innovation to come from the faculty responsible for that and engaging the industry in different things happening here. Because you are absolutely right. We could do much better in this. I mean, actually looking at this room and Industrial Advisory Board, we have world-class leaders in the industry, and we're not necessarily tapping into the intellectual energy and the resources as much as we could.
We had another question come in the chat. Ahmed, I don't know if you want to ask it.
Okay, sure. I'm asking, thanks for this inspiring talk. I'm asking how to balance between research, education, and service on one side and entrepreneurship in the other side. I believe that a faculty member benefit a lot from this entrepreneurship, but I think it has a negative effect on research, education, and service.
So my own opinion about this, the organization need to balance. A faculty member can choose where they want to excel. So not all of us are as passionate about teaching as Professor Betty Lee Anderson. I mean, she is a role model to me. I don't think I will ever reach that point. So I can learn from her. But we have Nesraf, who is a world-class researcher. I can learn from him. We have Sanjay, who is doing great in entrepreneurship. I can learn from him. As long as the organization is balanced and we absorb this excellence and expertise so the students can sample and see all of this, then we're good. I don't think each faculty member need to excel in all of them. I think each faculty member need to appreciate that we as an organization need to excel in all of them, and each of us can choose where to excel as long as we're all focusing on our mission, which is scholarship and students. So it's actually almost impossible to expect someone to focus on all of them, as you were just saying right now, Ahmed, but we can empower different people. That's the beauty of diversity, to excel in things they are passionate about, as long as it feeds into a balanced structure and vision for the department. I don't expect our faculty to go and create companies, for example. I'm sorry for interruption. Go ahead.
Oh, pardon me. It's Tom Brackey in LA. I'm concerned about a comment you made about the decreased enrollment in ECE and at the graduate level and other disciplines as well. So has there been any effort that is dependable to look into the root cause behind that? And if so, is that something to be used to inform the way in which we go about recruiting of the best students in the future?
We don't have decreased enrollment. We didn't hit that. Our enrollment is very healthy. We have decreased applicants. So that's a leading predictor for this. So we still, because we used to, like the number of PhD applicants, we used to get 10 times what we have right now 10, 15 years ago. Still, we didn't reach the point that this is reducing our enrollment, but of course it's affecting the diversity and the quality of the pool. Now, how to solve this problem? That's to reach out, to brand ourselves, to build relationships, nationally and internationally, to be very intentional about recruiting instead of just processing applications when they come to us. I know Ohio State as a university is doing an excellent job on that at the undergrad level. I think our discipline as ECE is not necessarily engaged into this yet. So I am planning to work with Dean Howard on, I think there are plans actually for direct admissions to the majors, which will allow us to have access to the pipeline. If we are serious about diversity and being a diverse discipline and a diverse environment, it starts with recruitment. Because if we don't solve the recruitment problem, 10 years, 20 years from now, we're going to be exactly in the same position we are in right now. So that's really the root cause of it. I don't know. I have some speculations about why it's happening, but I don't have enough data to say that those are correct. So I cannot really give a scientific answer to why it's happening, but it is happening. The pandemic could have also an effect on that as well. That will be seen next year.
Thank you.
And then we had another question come in from David. David, I don't know if you want to ask. Thanks for asking.
Yes. What are the areas of collaboration with other OSU programs? I mean, our faculty are actually very collaborative. So we have collaboration with the medical school. We have collaboration with BME. We have collaboration with mechanical engineering. The cybersecurity program is by definition collaborative between computer science, integrated system engineering, Glenn School of Public Policy, Mord School of Law, and Art and Science. I think our faculty, I mean, Kevin has a lot of collaboration with Art and Science, and the anti-racist technology class is built collaborative with a number of faculty there. This is organic. So to build collaboration is you just hire people who want to collaborate, give them the space and the resources, and let them thrive. And I think we're very good at this, and we're getting better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. I'll put out a last feeler for questions. Otherwise, thanks everyone for being able to attend. Stay tuned for the YouTube video. We'll be posting this on YouTube. So if you want to rewatch it, or if you had any additional questions, feel free to reach out on the OSU ECE alumni website. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Very much appreciated. And again, engagement with the department is key to our success, is key to our vision, is key to everything. So please stay with us. We cannot thrive without you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really awesome.